Okay, my friends, hold on to your hats. Shocker du jour du jour. We're going to go back to 2014, 2015, when the Curiosity Rover was up on Mars, and it did find fossils. Everything's false. Oh, we're looking. No, they're not. They're looking at trying to find microscopic life on Mars. You don't have to find microscopic life. I'll show you macroscopic life. Okay, my friends, exciting day. They finally admitting it at NASA and the rest of them that there was life on Mars, and there's these bones sticking out of rocks on Mars. They can't hide it any longer. I found this in 2014, and nobody would speak to me then, perhaps now. Okay, my friends, this is going to be an exciting summer. We've got Dr. Hawass coming to the United States, going to be giving a lot of information about Egypt. These are now on Mars, are the same things that are in Egypt. Wait till I show you Petra. You're going to blow your mind right out of your head. This is these dragon bones. Now this is Mars. Now Curiosity was the first rover they sent up. It says, as of now, the Curiosity team hasn't commented on them yet, but of course that hasn't stopped people from speculating. Current consensus seems toward wind erosion. Listen to this. This guy below. Listen to this. I'll throw out one hypothesis. Now, this is an academic, like, he must have a couple of PhDs. I'll throw out one hypothesis. These spikes parallel ripples in the sediments with coarser or better cemented grains accumulated in the troughs of the ripples. That could result in regularly spaced parallel linear features on the sediment that are more wind resistant. Add wind erosion roughly parallel to these features so they protect themselves as the rest of the surface recedes, and you might get something like this. This reminds me of Myron. He's a geologist trying to explain these called like flat irons. These big bumps like this to go across the deserts in the American West. It's just absolute nonsense they come up with. I discovered back in 2014 blood, arteries, muscle, sarcomeres. I'll show you right now. Okay, my friends, if you have seen the news about Mars in the last few days, they found dragon bones on Mars. I'll show you in a moment. I found this in the Curiosity pictures from 2014-2015. It's called the Mars crab. We're going to discuss this, and then we're going to discuss these features right here. And, of course, the crab, which is right down here. But let's take a look at the dragon bones first, and then we're going to go. Mars, they have found fossils on Mars long ago, and this has been covered up. See, this is Curiosity. This goes way back. NASA Curiosity Rover may have found fossils on Mars. Shut right off. Dr. Hawass is coming to the United States to tell us all about Egypt. Well, I'm going to show you Petra in a moment. This is what the future is here, is to actually examine what's on the ground. They have this helicopter flying around. Well, big deal. They still don't see what is right in front of their faces. You know, before I go any further, I just want to say something. Everybody's talking about artificial intelligence. So I said, well, I'm going to see what they say about mud fossils. So I put in, what are mud fossils, something like that. And it came up with like 100 different things. I was blown away. Here's USGS. This is the United States Geological Services. Educational resources, mud fossils, the background in them. And it talks about them vaguely, but at the bottom it says there's divisions in the earth layers, basically geological timescales, and the fossils that they found in them, the forms of life existed during these limited brief periods of geological time, are used as guide to age of the rocks in which they are preserved. So they understand it, and I was just blown away. Where do you see this? Look at this. I put in our mud fossils real body parts. Well, what comes up? The USGS, I just showed you that. Here's this one. the main culprit is the channel Mudfossil University, who has made ridiculous claims. And then it goes on. No, they're not real. Nothing's real. Mudfossil study shows, for example, a particular episode of the land surface was raised. This is earth science. Some of them came out right. Some of them just crazy. This is stone made from giant Stonehenge, and I claim that's true. All of these are claims that I made. The Colossus, examined by Mudfossil University, Mudfossil body parts, Greek giants. Everybody's starting to understand this is not just a joke. Mudfossil soft tissue. That's a paper I put out in 2015 on where was that, ResearchGate. That was my paper. Because this professor receives insane email claiming biological da-da-da-da-da. Mudfossils, real titans on Earth. We got all the books are coming out now. Look at this. Now this was my book I put out in 2015, and it's actually being re-released today. As a matter of fact, Mudfossils, Velikovsky, and Mines in Collision. My book is staying up here. This exact same book. It's only 99 cents. And I got like 4.4, and right away, as soon as it came out, they savaged it. So I had like a 1. You see down here, it's showing a, whoops, it's showing a 1 here or something, or 3. Mudfossils, Velikovsky's Mine in Collision, just a theory, blah, blah, blah. And it goes on and on. Funny looking rocks are not fossils. And this could really blew me away how much there is on mudfossils. Now this is artificial intelligence. Mudfossil University, Earth or body parts. Stunning recent geological research discoveries. For Roger Spur, Earth is first formed of carcasses. Absolutely. Jesus Christ said it too. He said Earth is a body and a corpse. Is a body. When you discover the Earth, you will discover a body and a corpse. Look at this. It just goes on forever. Literally forever. Okay, I'm going to go through these real quick because there's a ton of this stuff to go over. But these are the Mars blueberries. And they are the same things as we have here on Earth, which are called the Moki marbles. And they're the same thing as these, which are on Huntington Beach in the United Kingdom, which the balls wash out of the fleshy part. That's the skin. And I'm not kidding you. That's what it is. This is exactly what this was. And this is in a living creature. All of these flesh-filled bags of watery substance just erode out. It's the wet, fleshy, red stuff turns into mud. And the balls are very tough. This is how small they are in the actual body of a creature. That's why you can see all those Moki marbles and stuff. You see them? Now, in addition to that, of course, they're up on Mars. So they have the same biology on Mars. Now, look at this. This is on Mars, supposed to be the Mars crab, right here. And I can tell you for 100% certainty what this is. This is an artery, and right on top of it is the vein. The artery comes down, has all these blood vessels going in to service this muscle, which is called sarcomeres. And I will show you these. You see these little breaks in here and all these little slashes? You can come back and look at this because you're probably going to need to a few times. Because what that is this. This is the same thing. These are muscle sarcomeres. And where are they? They're in Petra as well. And these are also, this is the same thing here. I have this in my shop. This is their red blood, and it's mostly the red blood is eroded away, but that would have been filled with red, heavy blood, just like it is at Petra, and they carved it into very elegant structures. Now, this is Mars too. This is some slabs on Mars, but the main thing you want to see is the Mars blueberries, the Mars crab, and the Mars Morse code. And this is nothing more than the balls and straps. This is stretched out skin. This is pinched skin. See them all globbed together? And these are stretched out. And where it was stretched out far enough, the long fibers, some of them just eroded away. So, but this is what your skin looks like, just as I showed you here in these sarcomeres. Well, actually, these aren't sarcomeres. This is just interstitium, which is that flappy, fleshy looking stuff. And all of these layers have separation between them. This is tendon. This is muscle. This is, you don't see any red in here. All the blood uses in the muscle. And the tendon, almost no blood whatsoever. And you can see that in this picture here, which is that tendon part. It came out here, wrapped into a bone or something back here, and the bone erodes, and so does the flesh. And you end up with this, this is not millions of years, this guy died and that was it. These things were just so enormous, nobody can get their head around it. All of these are membranes. That's the most basic membrane connective tissue, which you can see in mine that I have here in my shop. You see that big main white one coming down here? That's the main connective tissue part. And this is the bone, where this is the same bone muscle here as here. This was when it first came out of the ground, and it still has some of the red stuff. You could see it very easily, and you can see the different texture, well, colors. And then, of course, this is where the bone is. All right, so this is right here. And this right here is the piece that we're seeing in that picture I just showed you right here, which is not millions of years, it's hundreds of minutes. Now remember I showed you muscle. Muscle makes these sarcomeres, and they have a bazillion little stripes in here because they have connective tissue amongst gooey, red, fleshy stuff that runs out. Now, you see this here? This is where you have these bands of, it's just nothing but blood. And sometimes you have big ones, and where the vein and artery come in, you have huge ones. And that's what they carved Petra out of. And you'll see these blocks right next to the huge red bloody spot that they carved into the treasury. Okay, so why am I talking about Petra? Well, everybody's seen Petra, probably have seen this, how elegantly carved this is. That was literally blood. These are the sarcomeres. You see these little fibers this pulled in? These were muscle. And this whole wall is muscle, and this was the meeting of a bunch of veins, arteries together. And here it is from the wide angle looking down on it. You see the treasury right there? This is where blood ran in, blood. This serviced all of this muscle, just like the ones I showed you have in my shop. These are all muscle sarcomeres. All of these are sarcomeres. This was all muscle being serviced by one big artery, and they carved into that artery. And that artery still has a lot of vessels. Well, right above it is this. And that's a lot of bloody, muscly tissue. And of course you can see the sarcomeres. They're quite easily seen. It's not hard to see. And they poke these little holes in here to let the blood drain out. Well, maybe not necessarily drain out, but at least dry up. That's what they did. And inside is all muscle. It's all muscle tissue and connective tissue. When they dug through, they hit spots like this. Some places it's absolutely raw, 100% raw blood. In the center here, that was, they got a little, anyway, they picked the spot where it all converged and they had a lot of red blood. Very easy to work that stuff. So basically, this over here is Petra, and that would have been very, very similar to this right here if they carved this all congealed into a red blood spot, and it stayed wet-ish. On Mars, everything dried out. There's no moisture to speak of, so everything dried out and all that red blood ran down into here, into dust. That's why it's called the red planet. It's nothing but flesh that's dried up. The red stuff just turns into powder. The connective tissue turns into this very, very tough stuff. Very, very tough, and a lot of layers, a lot. And then they have the breaks in between them. Those are the sarcomeres I showed you. And this right here would have been where they carved Petra. It's just the way it is. I didn't make it up. Just the way it is. Here's Petra right here. You see? It's all sarcomeres. This whole thing is sarcomeres. And that is the main feed for the blood, apparently, for this whole area here. And they just carved right into it. Plus, the doorway would have almost been open. You see that? That's where they would have been carving. And this would have all been red blood. This whole area would have been saturated with blood, just like it is in mine. You see this? This is mine right here. When this was, before this all eroded out of here, this was all red blood. And that main artery fed this whole thing. These are also arteries. But this is in my shop here. I looked at this very carefully. I know exactly what it is. And that is that tendon, just like we saw in the ocean there. And this is tough as it can be. This erodes, and the bone erodes. Okay, one last shot showing everything here. Mars was hit by Venus. That's the impact zone right there. That's wider than the United States. And all this stuff about gods and so forth, and Marduk and Jupiter giving birth to Venus, it's all recorded in the ancient texts. There's a lot more going on than we have ever thought. All of this ancient stuff has to be looked at again. And that's what I'm doing. And if you want to come along, come on along.